Hi everyone, it's Kathleen. I thought I would turn on the camera and share with you how I do some of my hand stitching. We are working on block 1 of our Journal of Stitchery, and the prompts for this block is a bunny and vintage lace. So I have vintage lace at the top and on the sides. So I started my block with a piece of muslin, and then I like to use wools. So I have strips of 3 wool strips that go from darker textured, medium textured, lighter textured underneath, and I sewed those on with a running stitch, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, all the way around those 3 wool blocks. I added 2 cotton blocks that were also textured, but this is cotton texture, and it came by the meter like this. They are pre-sewn in squares, and they have tattered bits on them. Got that years ago from the fabric store. And this as well is pinstriped, so I like looking for textured fabrics already. And I cut out a rectangle at the top and a rectangle at the top again. This little portion had nothing underneath because I knew I was going to be putting some vintage lace over top, and a running stitch across the outline of those 2 blocks. I also had a hexagon. Why? Because I like hexagons, and I cut some out, and I'm just putting one on here because I like it. And these are applique attached. So I wanted to show you 2 ways of stitching onto the fabric. So this is my lace. This is my vintage lace, and I like to hide my stitching on the vintage lace in these little parts of the lace. So I've sewn most of it on, and I have left about an inch worth, and I'd like to show you how I do that. So I'm going to come up in that lace, and I'm going to go down with the stitching. I'm not going against the stitching. The stitching already on the lace is horizontal this way, so I am following that. And I'm just going to go in and out. I'm going to go about every quarter of an inch, quarter to half an inch actually, in and out. So I go up through the lace, pull, hopefully you don't get a knot in the back, and then I go down right beside the lace in the back. And these are up and down stitches. Some ladies do, I don't know the exact terminology of it, but I'll show you what they do. They go down this way, so they're working from the top of the fabric only, and then they stick their needle through here and go. I like my stitches to be vertical for the most part when I stitch this on, because my fabric tends to slide over. So I'm just going up and down. I'm working around this little tripod of a light stand holding my iPhone, so hopefully you can see this. And I'm working from bed because that's where I usually do my stitching. This is a wool ironing mat. They're available lots of different sewing places. I got mine online from, I believe it was called Love Sew. I just saw an ad on Instagram. So there we have it. You can see these tacking stitches. Tacking stitches. Holding that, and and there's various ways. I'm going to be sandwiching another layer of cloth over top of this when I do my open spine books, so I don't care if people see knots on the back, but I'm just going to double stitch, and I still have a loop in there, and I'm just going to stick my needle through that loop and pull it closed. It's almost making a little knot there, and then just one more flat for good luck. Or you could have just tied a knot, whatever you prefer. That way I can cut it real close. And that is done. I'm going to put this aside. I have threaded needles already, so I can just grab them, which is nice because I know the colors I'm going to use. So that's how I do the tacking stitch for my lace. Now this is an applique stitch that I learned from Sue Spargo online. And here we are. So let's go up. And this is, if I had white wool fabric, I would have used wool, but you could tell that this is a wool fabric blend because this is not fuzzy on this side. It's only fuzzy on one side. So I don't have ivory or white wool. It's hard for me to come by. The place I order in, I went to the States to order it. They don't ship to Canada now. Last year they did. So, and the lady in down east. Okay, I'm sorry. You go, here, let me just do this one, then I'll explain it. So to do a tacking or applique, this is an applique stitch. You come up on the outside edge of the fabric that you want to tack down, and then I'm going to go at about 1/8 of an inch, and they're all going to be horizontal to what I'm stitching. And I'm going to do another one so you can see on the outside. Place this down and straight up and down and in. So that's just an applique stitch, and I stitch all the way around my applique. I don't roll under and turn down my edges. This is not rolled down and turned. A proper quilter would be turning that down. I like my edges raw, so I just leave my edges raw. I'm not making fancy quilts. These are just for me to stitch on, and that's just what I do. So I don't turn under. Oh, and well, we can do a knot. It doesn't matter. I said you can do knots or you can just tack it underneath. So a knot, and this one I'm just going to attach and give it another little loop so I can cut it real close so I don't have a tail sticking out. And there we are. So I'm going to cut it really loose really close to the fabric, and I can put this away. This is just mending thread, heavy mending thread. And what is this? Is this heavy mending thread? It is. I'm going to get that out of the way. Oopsie. Oh, too many piles here. Okay, so put my needle. Uh-oh, jarred you. And let's do some fancy stitching now. So I like my ear floppy. I'm going to leave him floppy for now. I'm going to show you how to do some flower stitches. When I have a design I'm working on, oh, look at my pen. I plan to do some flowers. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. Oh, just had a second here. Sorry, there the 3 going in the same direction. So 1, 2, 3 going in the same direction, and then 2 going in the other direction. I'm also going to be doing a flower twirl across the top. I decided how I'm going to do my stitching, my decorative stitching on my bunny, and I'm going to do turkey work for my tail. So I want to show you how to do some flowers. I love using or doing old-fashioned or vintage embroidery patterns, and they tended to use daisy daisy stitches or chain stitches or detached chain stitches. There are many things. So I'm using embroidery floss. These are two colors I'm using. One's a light coral and a dark coral, and they're both DMC. The light coral is 353 and the darker coral is 351. You use whatever colors you like. This is a variegated green. I'm going to try using this so I don't have to switch my needles. That's what's nice about green, variegated green. This one is DMC and it's 4066, and I'm going to be using that. I wanted to show you how I split mine, and I'm just taking a nice length. Oh shoot, I'm gonna just take that out of the package. Oh goodness. So I'm gonna take that out of the package, and how long do I have? It's probably about 2 feet. I'm going to take that out, and embroidery floss has 6 strands. Some people use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. I'm dividing this in half. So out of the 6 strands, I'm working with 3 at any given time. So that way I have 2 lengths that I'm working with. And yes, it gets tangled, and you just detangle it like that. Put one on the side, and let's go with greens. I tend to use a shorter chenille needle. Chenille needles have a little bit wider eye, and that's just because I can't see too well. So that's why I like the nice large eye. And I like my, oh, look at that, I have to make sure my threads are cut flat. And you hold on to your, look at that. If they're separating now, it's going to be hard to thread them. So I cut the ends so they're flush and as close to my fingertips as possible, and then insert it in. People they leave too much when sticking into the needle. That's what makes it harder to thread your needle. And a quilter's knot, which is really cool. I think it's fun just making a knot like that, because you don't have to do a 1, 2, or 3 on top of it individually. This is how you make a quilter's knot. And the point, you take the end of your thread going towards the eye of the needle, and you hold about 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch, and you wrap. I like to do 3 wraps, so 1, 2, 3. Pinch that bit of thread, pinching it tight, going over the eye, and you're still pinching, and you let go, and hopefully there's a knot at the end. And depending on where you held your thread, you might have a larger tail than what I have here. And this is for I am just going to lay this. Okay, how do I want to do this? I'm gonna make some running outline stitch, because remember I wanted to have 1, 2, and 3. So let's start with this. I want to start mine at the tip here. Since I don't really draw with the chalk line, that's okay, so I'm just going to be going up and down. Do I want a stem stitch or a running stitch? This is a chalk. Chances are you can't see it. A chalk will draw on some wools, others it won't. So it won't draw on that. Pencil probably won't draw on this either. I want to be able to see where my greenery is. So I'm just going to be going, I don't have to go up and down through the fabric. I can just do, okay, I'm going to be working this way. And I'm going to make a arc about there. So where's my little pin? So I can just imagine my stitch going there. Okay, so I'm going to do a running stitch because that's just what I like for stems. And they're about 1/4 of an inch, and I'm only going through my wool at this point. I'm not even going through the back. I love sewing with wool because it is soft, it's felted wool, and I don't have to prepare it. It's already prepared when I purchase it. And this actually is a skirt that I got at a secondhand store that I cut up because I love the texture so much. So I'm doing a stem stitch, and I position the camera. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm going in and out. I gotta get rid of that, it's in the way. Pull, and I'm going about an 1/8 of an inch and out of the same hole that other thread is coming out of. I'm going in and out the same hole, and that's a stem stitch. So I'm making my 5 lines of greenery for me to base my flowers on. And the last one, I am going to take that little bite. I'm going to take that stitch and I'm going to go down in the same spot. So it's almost like you're doubling the last one for thickness. And I'm going to tie a little knot on the edge of this one, and then I'm going to start my second. So I'm going to do 5 of these again, I said. So one, and they're going to end for placement 1, and it's going to have this same curved arc. 2, and then 3. It's going to be higher, about up to here. So this one's maybe go up to there. So let's start at the bottom here. Let's move over a bit. Let's go here. I moved over about between 1/4 and 1/2 an inch. And I'm going to do this one faster. Let's see where I want it to end, about right there. So it's going to have a nice arc about here. So let's just put my pin where I want it to end approximately, and let's do the stitch. So we're going to go about I don't know if that's an 1/8 of an inch, and I'm just going through the top fabric and working my arc. I will add more leaves with the chain stitch because I'm showcasing the chain stitch for my flowers, and you can make various flowers with the chain stitch and the colonial knot, French knot, whatever you choose. I'm going to use the colonial knot. Oh, and you can almost see my needle through the three pieces of wool fabric there. Not having any music in the background. If you ladies have watched me before, you'll know that I have always had music in the background because I'm quite self-conscious about talking. It's the anxiety, but I am pretending I'm talking to myself. How do you like that? Okay, so the hardest part is just holding on to your fabric. I can get rid of this pin now. And you notice how I just stab this pin into my mat. That's what's nice about this wool mat. You can just poke your pins or your needles right through it. And I'm just going, whoa, see what came out of the needle. You don't see the greenery at the back because I'm just going through that. My needle, my thread undid, so I have to redo it, rethread my needle. Oh, look at that. It's the hardest part of hand stitching for me is to thread this needle. Okay, so a little bit more. Okay, I like that. So I'm actually not going to double the top because when plants grow, they get narrower at the top, so I didn't even have to come up. So I'm just going to go down and tie a knot and anchor it a bit because I don't think my knot is very big. And let's see, where else would I want? I wanted to go really tall, so I think I'm going to cut that baby off in the back to save thread. And let's cut them off. Let's redo this. Let's hold on to about 1/2 inch, and then we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Maybe I went 4 that time. Oh, pinch and pull. And that's my quilter's knot, they call that. So I'm going to have another, so these are arced this way, arced, arced, and arced. This is going to be my longest one. I think I want him to be right in there. So I am going to start right there. Okay. And about 1/4 inch down the stem and out the same hole. 1/4 inch. I'm making these larger. They don't have to be that small. Whoa, that's too big. See, this is quite thick. I'm working through this vintage lace and it is, wow, it is thick. That was hard. Okay, hopefully this won't be as hard here. Okay, I'm not going to go through there. And again, you can see I'm not going through the back. I'm just going through my lace and the wool fabric. And I'm arching my stem. Stitching takes a while, so you can fast forward this by double tapping on the right hand side of your screen if you have an iPhone or an iPad. There. Love stitching through that wool. For me, wool, a lot of people stitch on linen. For me, it's very hard on my hands, so I give credit to those ladies that can do that because I can't. I need something soft to go through, and that's what I like about wool. See how beautiful these stems are when they're arced? And if I do 3 arcs to the left and 2 arcs to the right, you have 5, and that's nice for balance. And looks like I'm going to run out of thread and I have to redo this. I don't know how to edit videos. iPhone used to be able to merge videos together, so I could create 2 if I had to stop. But with this new update, whenever you update, of course, something goes wonky. And they haven't done the update on iMovie to be able to do that. So let's get this next thread. That's the other 3 that we have, 3-stranded embroidery floss. let's get the end. Hold down about 1/2 inch and 1, 2, 3, pinch and pull. There we are, that's a good one. And let's go here. There we are, continue. And can we see? Oh, my stem is a little wonky, but hey, nature's a little wonky, so I'm fine. I don't know if this is hair from the wool or my hair. It's hard to tell. But anyway, pulled it out. And continue down the line. So creating videos for stitching, they're going to be long videos because stitching takes a while. You can't just do it fast and show you the complete stitch. People have videos that are speeded up or sped up, but they're a lot more computer savvy than I am. So you get the full version. So at the end, where I want to stop, I'm going to go back down. So it's almost like a double stitch at the end. And I'm going to tie that a knot, and I have 2 more stems to make. Oh, for God's sakes, we're at 26 minutes already, and I haven't even got to the flowers. Oh, well. So the next ones we are going to do are, I would like, where do I want it to end? I'm going to start here at the opposite end and end about there. Let's do that one. So I'm going to come out here, very close to that first one, and let's try to do it quickly. So where did I want it to end? I have to turn this way and see here. So where's my pin? My black dot of where I want it to end. Okay, so I will finish these stems. Whoa, sorry. And I'll try to go a little faster. I might split this up into 2 videos that way. It won't be as long. Let's see here. Like I said, that one flower, that one rose that I did took me actually 2 full days to do. So if I would have done it on camera, oh my goodness, that would have been painful. Painful. And you can meander this. Okay, what's this thread? That's part of the wool. Okay, I'm going to take out this pin and just continue working. Hopefully you can see clear enough what I'm doing. As you can tell, I don't use a hoop. I just sew. I have to feel where my thread starts and ends with my fingers. Some ladies don't have to do that, but for some reason I do. So, and let's finish it off right there. And that's the top. Oh, I like that. That's very nice. So 1, 2, 3 to the left and 2 to the right. Uh-oh, I'm stuck. My Battenberg caught that. So let's tie a knot. And let's just go 1, 2, and let's just grab that. And this is no fancy way of ending a stitch. It's just a way of ending it. Let's make the last quilter's knot on this green. Hold a 1/2 inch, 1, 2, 3, pinch, and oh, you see I let go. My fingernail is too soft, and there we are. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, I want to start about here. So let's start there and work. Uh-oh, what's happening? I am so out. Okay, look at how easy that came out. And oh, you little. Okay. I pulled hard and my knot came right through that fabric. So I am going to, that's a tiny little knot. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. There we are. And let's start here. And I want to go, where do we want to have this guy go? Nope. We're going to have him go right down there. Okay, so let's go quickly. Hand stitching is fun. Slow stitching is mainly straight lines, so that's why I call this hand stitching, because it has embroidery stitches in here as well. And I don't worry about being behind in a project. I'm going to be, I stitch for the pure love of stitching. And I'll go down this way. So I stitch every night, most every nights, unless I'm working on a crochet project, then I crochet, but usually it's stitching every night. And a lot of just practicing stitching on a cloth, making artist books with paper and thread. Uh-oh, hear tummy growling. Okay, and we go down. All right, those are the stems. That looks very, very pretty. Okay, let's make a knot. And 1. So I moved it to the top so I may have a little loop. And then that way my needle's done. This guy's falling over. All right, now we can get on to our flowers. So lupins and lavender. So I have different sizes of needles. I have the chenille needles, which are shorter. Then I have these longer Milner's needles. And these Milner needles, oh, I see I have these already threaded. So let's start with I'm going to use 2 shades. Oh, I do need my ivory. Where's my ivory? Ivory. Here you, oh, that's a small ivory. Okay, I'm going to use 3 shades for my lupins, and I'm going to start, my largest one is going to be my showcase lupin, and the other ones are going to be a different kind of stitch. It's mainly a vintage embroidery. So let's start. This is a large lupin, a very, very large lupin. I want to do those over top. These other ones are going to be straight stitches, and this is going to be, okay, there's going to be 3 different kinds of flowers here. So let's go with this is the old-fashioned vintage stitch. And I'm going to start here. This is a vintage pattern, and I'm going to go up and down this way. I'm going to start with the dark, and it's almost like a running stitch, this one here. Well, what do you mean almost? It is a running stitch, but I go in and out. And close, I keep my spaces very small and my stitch length longer. Ouch. And so I'm doing this dark coral running stitch really close to the green stem. And I work with the milliner's needle because I like to do lots of wrapping, lots of stitches that I wrap the thread around the needle lots. Okay, so that, they're meant to be flowers in the distance. So let's have one row of the dark coral. Let's move him down. Dark coral. You see how I end differently every time? So that's dark coral. Let's go with the light coral. This one has a knot already at the end. So I am going to go a little bit further down. So I'm going to start lower than the top of that one. The dark coral starts, it's the furthest at the top. The lighter coral, I'm going down lower. And I'm just doing a running stitch. This was in a very old embroidery pattern from the, well, I can't tell you what year it is. It's old, old, old. And this is just one way that they made flowers. These iron-on transfers for embroidery. And this is just one form of flower, and it's with a running stitch. And we are going to be doing some green leaves at the bottom of this after I do it. So there's that. So I did dark coral, light coral. Do I want to do another row? How many rows do I want to have? 1, 2, 3. My tummy's growling. Do I want to have the white, or is it going to be too light? Because these are the 3 colors. I'm using these 3 colors, so let's just keep 3 colors in everything we do. So let's finish with that lighter coral and put the lighter coral aside. So I have dark coral, light coral. Okay, I could either choose ivory or yellow. Let's have a look. So let's see what the yellow, do we want to incorporate yellow or do we want to incorporate, it'll make a difference. There's the yellow and this is the ivory, so it'll look a lot whiter. I think I want to go color. I'm going to go with the yellow. So this is pearl cotton. Size 8 is the thickness, so it's a thinner one. I usually like to work with size 5, but in color packs, they come in size 8s only. So let's just use this and see, I can mix my embroidery floss, hold a ½ inch, 1, 2, 3, pinch and pull. And then you have a nice quilter's knot. So let's go, we're gonna go parallel to the light colored coral, but we're gonna go on the dark coral side. And it's just a running stitch again, and I'm just following a pattern, that very old iron-on pattern that ladies from long ago used to use. And this just gives you an outline of a lavender flower or a lupin from a distance. And that's what it's meant to be. And one more. I'll have this same kind of flower that I will do off camera on the other side. So I'll have 1 and 2 of the same kind of flowers. I'm going to tie the knot, and I'm going to carry this through here, and it looks like I need to get some more green thread. Let's put our yellow away, and I want to add some little petals with that chain stitch, and I'm going to get another length of this. Look at that, I already have a knot. So take that, and I split this. This is 6-strand embroidery floss, and I split it into 3. So I have 2 lengths. There we are. And let's thread one end. Lost my needle already. Okay, I like using a milliner's needle, so let's just use a milliner's needle. Even though it's green, I am making detached chain stitches, so that's why. And let's go with holding 1/2 inch, 1, 2, 3, pinch and pull. And there we have a beautiful thing. So at the end of this lupin in the distance, or maybe a lavender in the distance, we're going to do some little chain. They're actually detached chains. So let's go up at the bottom, and I am going to go into the same hole that I came out of and take about 1/8 of an inch, and we're making a chain stitch. And that's what I don't like about embroidery floss, is I have one of these 3 threads. They're not the same length. And how do I know that? Is because look, they're puckering here, and the OCD in me is that's driving me crazy. So that's why I like the pearl cotton. You have 1 strand, but you get a lot more colors in embroidery floss. So we're going where I came up on the other side of that loop. I'm going to go down on the outside of the loop. So I'm encasing that loop. I'm tacking it down. So that's a chain stitch. So I did 1. They're gonna look like little leaves as we do them. Go in through the same hole we came out of, about 1/4 of an inch, down, oops, and pull. You still have that nice little teardrop or flower petal, and you go down on the outside of that thread, and I'm going to go in the same hole and make one out the other side. Making a detached chain stitch. It's like a little flower petal, but in our case it's a little leaf petal because it's green. So I have 3. Let's have a look. 1, 2. So this is supposed to be a lupin in the distance. We're going to have a different, you'll have a buildup of greenery as we stitch. Okay, I'm going to put 1 more in here because I can. And I want it to go out the side. Oops. If you don't like your stitches how they turn out, you can always cut them out. Take the thread out. Okay, so that's that one. Out the side. That one's really out the side. He's kind of really wonky, but I'm going to leave him in there. And finishing off the thread. We're already 45 minutes. Okay, I think I'm going to stop this video now so I can do the fancy lupin that you probably came on this to watch in the first place. So I'll be back and we're going to make a fancier lupin on this side. See you soon.